The other day, my friends and I were talking about how not to minister to grieving families. We were kind of sharing stories with one another as a group of pastors about other pastors and priests who have kind of been bad at their jobs when our loved ones have died, from preaching a super generic funeral sermon that gets grandma's name totally wrong, to an unrelated male priest refusing to allow a Protestant clergywoman to even read scripture at her loved one's service. Sometimes clergy get it wrong when a loved one dies. Maybe some of you have experienced that. But as we shared those stories, I thought of my own father's death and just how opposite my experience was with a pastor, a clergy person. How very thoroughly supported that I was in that time by a particular pastor and actually his entire family and the entire church. My dad lived from 3 decades here in the United States, but as he got closer to the end of his life, he really wanted to go back and live in Taiwan. He wanted to live somewhere where people spoke his language and cooked the food that he loved and actually respected him as more than the crazy little Chinese man in the middle of Midwestern whiteness. And I agonized over this because I wasn't sure it was a good idea for my father to live on the other side of the world from his only real relation. But in the end, I decided to take my baba's frail body to the other side of the world to live out his last years. Now, we don't actually have any family in Taiwan because of war and the horrors that come from the not so peaceful kind of peace. Our biological family is all in mainland China, and we don't any longer have any contact with them. But what we do have in Taiwan is we have church family. My mom spent 14 years as a missionary in Taiwan, missionary from the United States, and she met my dad in Taiwan working at a Methodist university in Taipei. And yada, 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 I was born, I was baptized at that university's church, that chapel there, and a year or so later we moved to the United States. The university that my parents worked at is called Dongwu Dashi. And I want to describe to you this university because it's one of my favorite places in the whole world. Dongwu is this big college campus in Taipei. It's lush with these big green leafy plants. It has all these beautiful open-air walkways. There's a 7-Eleven where you can buy hot pork buns for breakfast. There's a healthy population of bloodthirsty mosquitoes. And there's this hair salon where you can get the most indulgent hair wash of your entire life. But truly the best part of Dongwu is its Methodist chapel, which is a church known as Ansutan. The best part of Dongwu is that church's elderly choir members who always smile with joyful familiarity whenever they catch a glimpse of me. The best part of Dongwu is those delicious lunches after church where everyone eats with a bowl and chopsticks. The best part of Dongwu is the pastor of that chapel, Pastor Chun, and his entire family who have taught me more about Christian love than just about anybody in my whole life. I met Pastor Chun and his wife and their adult children when I was in school here, actually, 12 or 13 years ago, when I was a student at Yale Divinity School. I got this grant to spend a whole summer in Taipei. The grant was so that I could try to learn more Chinese and so that I could interview people about kind of modern Taiwanese history. Today, my Chinese is still pretty terrible, and I know embarrassingly little about Taiwanese history. But the most enduring gift that I received from that grant was getting to spend an entire summer building a friendship with Pastor Chun's family and lots of members of that church. Since then, we've visited back and forth, we've introduced spouses and babies, we've had interesting intercultural exchanges, and we have said farewell together to my father. When I brought my dad back to Taiwan, it was Pastor Chun's family that helped me to navigate the government systems in Taipei. It was Pastor Chun who sat with my father and me, actually his wife, as we made some of the hardest decisions of my life. It was Pastor Chun who prayed with me at the airport as I cried at the thought of leaving my elderly Baba halfway across the world. And when my father died, it was Pastor Chun's wife who contacted me over Facebook Messenger and gave me the news. And it was Pastor Chun who drove my dazed and exhausted self to the middle of the island to pick up all the pictures and the letters that I had sent my dad through the years that lined his nursing homeroom. And it was Pastor Chun who stood with me while I sobbed next to my father's lifeless body. And it was Pastor Chun who prayed Christian prayers and shepherded us through this crematorium that was built for Buddhist ritual. It was that church that carried us like angels through the greatest grief I have experienced. During that time, Pastor Chun was my pastor. And his family and that entire church was my family. And they always will be. I love them so deeply. And today is World Communion Sunday, when we celebrate the diverse expressions of Christianity around the world. And I have to admit that even though I am the daughter of a missionary, and even though especially missionaries from United Methodist and Mission Agencies have done really, really good social justice work in the world, I have always felt really mixed about the presence of the church around the world. Because our faith has spread while holding hands with empire and colonial harm and genocide. Conquerors like Christopher Columbus, whom our nation honors with a holiday tomorrow. These folks have killed and raped and stolen from indigenous people with crosses around their necks and clergy at their side. At the 2016 General Conference of the United Methodist Church, we received a report by a group that studied the Sand Creek Massacre, one of the most heinous single events in the genocide of indigenous people in what is now the United States. So to this hushed crowd of thousands at General Conference, historian Gary L. Roberts gave a report that included these words about Sand Creek, and quote part of his report. At dawn on the morning of November the 29th, 1864, a column of Colorado volunteer cavalry struck a village of Cheyenne and Arapahoes on Sand Creek in southeastern Colorado Territory. The attack quickly deteriorated into indiscriminate slaughter. Over much of the day that followed, killing continued. Between 2/3 and 3/4 of those killed were women, children, and the elderly. And when killing ended, scalping and mutilation of the dead continued into the next day when the village was burned and the troops moved away. The events were so brutal that entire companies of attacking forces were repulsed by them. Individual soldiers in other companies simply refused to participate, and still other soldiers who rode into the action were horrified by the excesses. Initially, the Sand Creek affair was heralded as a great victory by the citizens of Colorado. And the commanding officer, Colonel John Milton Shivington, was proclaimed the hero. Denver celebrated. Local theaters displayed strings of scalps on their stages along with 3 small children as trophies and other gory booty from the attack. But within a matter of days, a darker story emerged. Reports circulated of the atrocities committed at Sand Creek, but perhaps more damning was the fact that the village attacked was there because they had been promised safety. The Sand Creek attack was a violation of plighted faith and carried out by the man who was responsible for the Cheyennes and Arapahos being there in the first place. End quote. Now that celebrated man who carried out the attack, Colonel John Milton Shivington, was a well-connected Methodist minister. And his actions were supported by other Methodist ministers and laity. That is just one of the many ways that the church and its leaders took an active role in the theft and murder that created these borders that have become more sacred to this nation than human life itself. So especially in this week, as we remember the harm done by Christopher Columbus and so many people after him, especially this week, I feel a little cynical about celebrating Christianity's worldwide presence. You know what I mean? But then my dad died on the other side of the world. And no matter what misguided or violent practices led us to becoming Christian, I can't help but believe and observe that God has turned what was meant for evil into something good. My Baba died on the other side of the world, where we have no blood relatives. But we are followers of Jesus, and Jesus taught us to make family where there is no family. And that family carried me through my hardest years. Now this alternative family making, it has actually been something that has always been a key principle of the early church. Once when people talked about Jesus' biological family being present, Jesus looked around at the people sitting with him in his community to whom he had no blood relation. And he said, "Who are my mother and my brothers? Here are my mother and my brothers. Whoever does the will of God is my brother and sister and mother." And when Jesus is dying on the cross, in some of his last words in the world, he looks at his mother and he looks at this beloved disciple and he says to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." And he says to his beloved disciple, "Here is your mother." And from then on, that beloved disciple takes his mother into his own home. His last act, Jesus' last act, was to make family from people who were before not family. And that's just in the Gospels. And then in the New Testament letters, so much ink is spilled, figuring out how to create these new Christian communities across boundaries of race and nation, unheard of families that included both Jews and Gentiles. So our Christian tradition is from its beginning. It has always been about creating this new alternative family across boundaries, across borders. As Christians, our family and our love and our community is not defined by nation states. Our responsibility to one another as members of God's family transcend these civic borders built on theft and And that is why we're part of this sanctuary movement. In articles about this church becoming a sanctuary church last year, my predecessor, Pastor Ju Han, is always quoted as saying, when Jesus fed the hungry in the wilderness, he didn't ask for photo ID, he didn't ask for legal documents, he didn't ask whether they had Galilean citizenship. The only thing he saw was the need of the people who were hungry. And so he simply fed them with great compassion. I would add that when Jesus was dying on the cross, he didn't ask the beloved disciple or his mother if they spoke the same language, or if they were the same race, or if they held the same citizenship papers, or were at the cross in strict accordance with civic law. None of those things matter at the foot of the cross of Jesus. And when I flew my father to a country where we had no family, Pastor Chun did not ask our national or political affiliation. He did not care if we had any blood relatives in his church. He looked at us and he saw children of God. My father was his father. I was his sister. So not only do we as a white-dominant American church have a particular responsibility to care for those who are harmed by borders that we helped to create, by borders from which we have benefited for generations. Not only do we owe that unique debt as American churches, but it is also the fundamental teaching of Jesus and of our spiritual ancestors to create family that rises above blood and borders. And that is what I am remembering and celebrating on this World Communion Sunday.